Hello, and thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Vivian McCallum, one of the health sciences librarians here at CHSL. Today I'm going to be sharing information with you about predatory publishing and open access. Here are the topics we're going to cover today. Understanding what predatory publishing and open access are, how to spot and avoid predatory publishers, and journal evaluation. A thoughtful evaluation ensures that you'll be able to reach the relevant audience to your topic, that you'll be able to meet the institutional requirements, protects your professional reputation and the actual intellectual property, which are very important. Avoid hidden charges and to ensure that your work receives the appropriate peer review. Predatory publishers are like a wolf in sheep's clothing, so the best way to avoid them is by understanding how they operate. So most predatory setups are very predictable and follow these four steps. So first comes the solicitation, where you receive multiple highly flattering, unsolicited emails that are inviting you to submit a paper or join an editorial board. And it's all very miraculous because they'll be able to, provide rigorous review, but also publish it in, 24 hours, something crazy like that. The trap is you will 9 times out of 10 find hidden fees. So once accepted, you're hit with big, really high article processing charges. Then you say, oh my gosh, this is a predatory publisher that I've just submitted my work to, and you want to withdraw it, but often they will then demand that you pay an extraction fee. It's like they're holding your manuscript hostage. Here are more red flags to watch out for. One red flag does not mean it's predatory. More than one, you want to keep your guard up. An overall tell that it's a predatory publisher contacting you is that it seems too good to be true. We both know how that saying goes, how it ends up. Another overt clue is that the emails they bombard you with will be overly flattering, like really flowery, flattering content and written with bad grammar often. So the emails are so often, you're really bombarded, like one after another. And they can often be outside your field of expertise in the first place. The costs are hidden, they don't bring that up until it's too late. The claims of impact factors are not verifiable, same as editorial board members. They don't actually exist or don't know they're listed, are not still living, etc. Websites are also riddled with a lot of broken links in grammar areas, errors. And then also a pretty slick little piece of information is missing, and that is how to contact them. So before you submit an article to a journal, ask yourself these questions so that you are less likely to be sending it to a predatory journal. So check out a few at least of the board members listed, the editorial board members listed, to verify that they exist and that they really are attached to a proper institution and have the expertise that is being claimed. See if you can find the journal indexed in a trusted database like PubMed or Web of Science. See if the publisher participates in organizations such as COPE or OSPA, which are, um, they monitor ethics of publications. Read the contract for sure. And if you're still in doubt about submitting or not, contact the library at askchsl@case.edu to talk it through. So hearing all this, you might think, is this a scam? Is open access just, a scam that we want to avoid? And it's not. It's not the fault of open access that there are corrupt people out there who will try to exploit something that's meant for good. So the fact that predatory publishers exist shouldn't stop you from considering publishing in an open access journal. Especially that's why you have the tools to be able to say, is this predatory? Is this legit? Most open access journals are very rigorously peer reviewed, highly prestigious. So you're evaluating the journal, not the publishing model. So if you do happen to publish in a predatory journal, some of the consequences are that um, the papers pretty much rarely count towards tenure or promotion, which is probably what your one of the aims, one of the goals that you might have. The article being published in such a journal can actually damage your professional credibility. So it might have been fast to be published, but it's going to be more damage than being fast is worth. And, money being spent that you weren't counting on. And it promotes, this is important, promotes poor quality research, which then spreads misinformation, which then undermines public trust. So we've taken a look at what to watch out for in terms of predatory publishers and their journals. Here's a framework to help you evaluate any journal, not just those you suspect are predatory. The five metrics used in this framework are relevance, legitimacy and quality, impact factors, publishers' practices, as well as practical features. So step one, you want to assess the relevance to your topic. So you want to see the scope and aims. You want to read the journal's mission statement. And there should be such a statement. If there's not, that would be another red flag. You want to see who the target audience is. Does it reach the community that you want to reach? And then look through some of the recent articles published so that you can see the quality and style, kind of the tone of the papers to see how it fits with yours. Step two, verifying legitimacy and quality. So one thing to do is check indexing to see if the journal is indexed in a major database. There are some listed there. Check to see that the editorial board consists of actual recognized experts. And then look and see if there's a clearly defined peer review policy. Step three, you're evaluating the impact. That's where you'll be looking for the journal's impact factor or site score. You could look at the H index, the acceptance rate, and these lend to finding out how much the reach is, how much reach this journal has. Step four, evaluate publisher practices. So look for evidence of ethical publishing policies, see if they belong to COPE, for example. Um, See if they have retraction procedures, which they should, listed. Transparency of all the standards. Transparency is um, the big thing to see that marks a reliable journal. It's transparent. Likewise, or vice versa, the other way is if it's not transparent, things are hidden, then you can pretty well be sure there's something up. So yeah, and membership in recognized organizations. Step five, you want to consider the practical and logistical issues too. So, for example, that time to publication, if your research is time sensitive, you want to check and see what the average timeline is when you first submit an article and then between that and when it's actually published in that journal. You want to know what fees are involved right up front. And then if you are uncertain about these things or other things, you just contact one of us again at that ask chsl@case.edu. So again, that word transparent, transparency. Reputable journals are generally transparent about their operations and publishing practices. So again, some of these things are repetitive. It's because they're important. Um, you want journals that are clearly describing a peer review. They're identifying the editorial leadership. They're providing transparency on fees. It's up front. Things are not hidden. They're publishing clear policies and they communicate professionally, for example, when um, when you are starting to communicate with them. They're not, for example, they're not all flowery, um, in terms of their flattering you. That's just one thing, but you can tell the other things, that they're professional, the way their grammar is, the way they construct their sentences. And you want it to be discoverable, so want it to have indexing that's solid. So you've gone through the evaluation steps and found a reputable journal or two in which you'd like to publish. Besides knowing a journal is legitimate, you also need to choose a journal that's relevant to your article topic. So the resources on this slide can help you do that. If you just look to the left, the journal impact factor, site score, sci-val, these are all things that will help you under, understand or see that it's a relevant topic, so that the journal is relevant to your article. And then more towards the determining again that the journal is legitimate, just to make triple sure. There's actually a new lib guide, which is a research guide that we created on journal evaluation and predatory publishing, and then on open access publishing. And then you'll see where they intersect. This website, Think, Check, Submit, is really good and well known for being a leader in understanding and spotting predatory publishers. Cabela's has been around for a long time, where it actually lists journals that have been sort of deemed predatory, and the Retraction Watch database. So here are a couple examples of emails from predatory publishers. This first one is a call for articles. And you can see right off the bat, it's not professional. Hope our email finds you well and in a healthy mood. It's a strange kind of sentence construction. And then how impressed they are by you goes on and on. Um, so that will be, you can take a look at that and just get more. You can tell spot how you can spot it. Then this one is about they want an editorial board member. Again, it's, our immense pleasure to invite you, etc. Um, publisher in its bag having, it just doesn't make sense. So, but again, it's full of flattery. It looks, it can look sort of legit, and maybe the grammar's not as bad as like some things are, but once you really take a gander at it and really sort of look at the sentences and then do the other pieces that we've talked about for legitimacy or predatory markings. You'll be able to tell. You'll be able to sort out the ones that are not legit. And this is a legitimate an example of a legitimate call for articles from a publisher. So you can see it's got impact factors listed. It's part of the Open Access Journal program. It's a member of COPE. These are all marks of a legitimate journal at the front. So this actually concludes the presentation. I know it's fairly quick. Remember those LibGuides. the research guides that are on that one slide about resources, it will give you more in-depth information.